Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu rasulillah, wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa man sara ala sabilihi ila yawmiddin, amma ba'd. So in continuing discussing this topic of Tariq al-Fiqh, this topic of that is referred to as concerning the evolution of fiqh and development of fiqh. So today, which will be our last session, that will be trying to summarize or to discuss concerning certain matters that pertains to asbab al-khilaf al-fuqaha, of some of the reason behind the fuqaha having a difference between themselves. Also discuss concerning anwa al-khilaf, the different type of al-khilaf al-fiqhiyya. Also discuss concerning concerning matter that relates to al-asr, al-taqlidi, concerning jumhud al-madhahib, where people start to become that stick to a particular madhab. So at what point that occurred and how it affected concerning the Muslim regarding this matter, and also a type of mujtahid regarding the type of ulama that came out of that approach. And also we discuss concerning certain matter that relates to the alaqa bayna al-madhahib, the things that are common between the madhahib. So those are the things that are matter concerning at-taqlid and ta'assub. So we'll be discussing concerning those matters pertaining to what remains to be discussed. So as for first discussing concerning what is said to be of at-taqlid. So discussing concerning what is said to be at-taqlid, that ulama have given various definition of at-taqlid, and when they use the word at-taqlid, then also the word that usually come along with this also ta'assub. So the word at-taqlid that will define as to what is said to be at-taqlid, also what comes with also ta'assub. So taqlid in English is referred to as blind following of a madhab. So blind following of a madhab is referred to by way of taqlid in English, and also ta'assub, where the person become very the person stick in a fanatic way to a particular madhab. So the person he sticks to a particular madhab in a fanatic way. So regarding concerning at-taqlid, that the ulama have given various definition. As for definition is given regarding at-taqlid, that they mention aqd lil qawl min ghayri marifati bidalili. So at-taqlid is the person taking to a qawl, a view of a person, without knowing their evidence, without knowing of their evidence. So taqlid is taking a position taken by someone else, but you do not know of the evidence that, or the dalil, the source that they're using to come to their conclusion. So so this is at-taqlid. And the purpose and the reason of people falling into taqlid, that may be many. So many, but in general, that of the reason of people falling into taqlid is regarding al-ghulu fil ulama, where people that went overboard, over the top, regarding towards the ulama, where they hold at every view, where they can somewhat take on the view that because of the position and the status and the level of knowledge of that alim, that any view that he takes, then they would follow him in that view, without per se reviewing his the evidence or critiquing of his evidence and his view. So that's concerning of the reason that leads to at-taqlid. So of the reason that leads to taqlid and ta'assub is people having al-ghulu towards the ulama. So whereas we mentioned that they're old, that the view of that alim that they follow, whatever he says is correct, and anything that goes in contrary, they see it as being in that they all have a problem in accepting this, or that they will take the position that the view of the imam that they follow, then what he says is all correct. But also there's other ulama, then you if you want to follow them, then you can do so. But as for the alim that they follow, or following of a particular alim, then the person can somewhat go along with everything that they say. So even concerning at times where the evidence is proven to be against what the imam that they follow have taken, they'll still take the view of the imam. So they still take the view of the imam, even at times if it is proven that there's evidence that goes in contrary to the view that you have taken. So this is concerning at-taqlid and ta'assub towards the ulama. So this have led to a great division amongst the ulama. So of those things that have sprung from this, that it led to division amongst the ulama. And as though they have mentioned regarding concern that this matter regarding the Muslim falling into at-taqlid, that where this can start to occur or emerge amongst the Muslim after the 4th century. So after the 4th century, then this approach regarding of taqlid, then it started to become more widespread and become the practice of many, where they'll stick to a particular madhab of the madhahib al-fiqhiyya. So we're talking in specific in relation to the madhahib al-fiqhiyya. So we find that, as we mentioned before, that the ulama that of those madhahib that still remain as are those four, and you'll find that so at a certain point you'll find that each Muslim was expected to follow one of those four madhahib and not for him to go outside what is mentioned in that madhahib or that madhab. But as for the ulama regarding concern these madhahib, that also that the ulama can be placed, the ulama in general, that they can be categorized into four categories. So the ulama, or regarding concerning looking and studying concerning fiqh and the personal level of fiqh, their degree of the understanding of fiqh, it could be classed into or placed into four levels. So first type, so the fourth type of regarding concern those ulama regarding their approach regarding fiqh, that those I mentioned ulama بالكتاب والسنة وأقوال السلف الصالح من الصحابة والتابعين وأئمة. So those ulama, that they were ulama of the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and also the sunnah of the Prophet alayhi salam, and also they had great knowledge regarding concerning aqwal of the salaf, from amongst them the sahaba and the tabi'een and the imma al-arba and others amongst the imma. And these are one ahula hum alladhina ya'nawna bid-dalil, and these are the ones that they give emphasis regarding dalil. So these are the ones they put emphasis regarding concerning following of the dalil and adhering to the dalil. ويرجحون بين أقوال العلماء, and also they will make a tarjih, they will kind of somewhat they'll critique the views of the ulama who preceded them, and also they try to find the view that is more in line with the dalil. They'll try to find the view that is more in line with the evidence, and they'll follow such a view. And these are the mujtahidun and mutlaq. So these are the ulama who are said to be al-mujtahid and mutlaq, where they do not stick rigidly or follow a specific madhab, but they'll know the aqwal of, they'll look to the book and to the sunnah and the aqwal of the salaf from the sahaba wa tabi'in, and also the imma and also the ijma'at, and that they'll try to stick, if there's a difference between the ulama, then they'll try to see as to the view that is more in line with the Quran, the sunnah, and also the principles regarding al-istinbat, the principle regarding how to extract ruling from the sources, and whichever view that is in line, then they'll follow that view, and at times they'll go even at times against the popular view. They'll go even against the popular view, but their intent or their approach is to look at the book, the sources itself, and try to come to a conclusion based upon the sources. So those are the immatul mujtahidun, al-mutlaq, ai-imma that are not binding to a particular madhab. So those are the imma who are not binding to a particular madhab. The ulama from this approach, that they are, so of those who are of the likes of Ibn Taymiyyah, of those who had this approach. So you might find from those ulama who have this approach that initially that they may start regarding studying a madhab, but at some point they go outside of the madhab, where they start to look at the matters based upon what is in the book and the sunnah and the aqwal of the salaf and the imma, and then they see as to which the view are closest in line with the evidence, and not that they are following a specific madhab. So also they will know concerning all the views of all the madhahib, and also make a comparison. So these are the ulama that are said to be a mujtahid al-mutlaq, that do not per se strictly follow a specific madhab, of the likes Ibn Taymiyyah, of those who kind of somewhat inclined towards this way, Ash-Shawkani, min ulama al-Yemen, and others. So they mention the likes of, they mention Ibn Daqiq al-Eid, and others is Ibn Abdul Salam, of the ulama who somewhat try to move towards this way, and others of the ulama, and others who move towards this approach regarding following of dalil. The second type of the ulama that they mentioned that one might find is those mujtahid of the ulama who are said mujtahid al-muqayyid. Al-mujtahid, muqayyid. So a mujtahid, but he is restricted to a particular madhab that he follows. So that mujtahid is of those ones who that they follow, they stay within their madhab. So regarding that mujtahid, of those they mention ahula al-mujtahidun, that they'll be well grounded and have great knowledge of the fatwa of the imam that they follow. So the imam that they follow and the views within the madhab, then they'll have a very sound knowledge and vast knowledge of the view that is within the madhab regarding concerning their usul, their principles, and also their sources and their view, that they have their conclusion. So they'll be very well grounded regarding the views of the madhab. But also with this, that they're able also to can come to conclusion based upon the principle of the madhab. So also they'll come to conclusion based upon the principle, the usul, the principles of the madhab that they follow. And they will not per se go outside of this. So they're restricted mainly to the madhab that they follow regarding their usul, knowing their fatwa, knowing their evidence that the madhab that they use, and they'll stay within the madhab. And also if they give fatwa, then they'll give fatwa based upon the usul of that madhab. They give fatwa based upon the usul of that madhab that they follow. But overall, that mujtahid, they say mujtahid al-muqayyid, where he's restricted to a particular madhab. He's restricted to a particular madhab. So you find that each of the madhab al-arba, that they have individual who are said to be of that way. They'll find that for each madhab, you find an individual of some of the ulama who's of that way, inclined. So amongst the Hanabila, they have, for example, remember, they mention Abu Ya'la, Qadi Abu Ya'la, also Qadi, they mention Qadi Abu Ali, Ibn Ali al-Musa, who's of those concerned, and the author, the one who have explained the book Shar al-Irshad. So the one who have explained, the book of Irshad, Shar al-Irshad, from the book of the Hanabila. So overall, that within the madhab of the madhab of the Ambali, that you might find some of the ulama is considered to be a mujtahid, but within his madhab. A mujtahid within his madhab. Amongst the Shafi'iyya, you have many. So amongst also amongst the Ahnaf, that's amongst the Shafi'iyya, you have the likes of those concerned. They're mentioned of those scholars who have that way inclined. The Ahnaf, you have of all concerning Abu Yusuf, Muhammad, Zufar, and the likes, that they'll follow this particular way. Also after Shafi'iyya, they have Al-Muzani and the likes who follow that way per se. So then also you have from the Malikiyya, also those who have that way inclined or of that level regarding Al-Mujtahid, Al-Muqayyid. Within the madhab of the Malikiyya, they mention Ibn Abdul Hakam, Ibn Qasim, Ibn Wahab, and the likes. So you find that of the ulama, of those who have that way, that have reached that level, which is the second level. So a mujtahid, but within a particular madhab, within one of the madhab that they follow. The third level of the mujtahid, or the third type of mujtahid, considered a mujtahid fi madhab من انتسب إليه. That is a mujtahid regarding the madhab that he follows. So a mujtahid regarding the madhab, that mujtahid is the one that is somewhat also of knowledge concerning the madhab, regarding concerning the views of the madhab, the fatwa of the madhahib, and also the ulama of that madhab, and also that he will never go outside the aqwal of that madhab. He will never go outside the aqwal of that madhab. So regarding that, so anything that goes outside of the madhab, then, or the view that the view that are outside of what is established in that madhab, he will not per se take to those views. So he stays within the established views of the madhab and not goes outside the views that goes against those of established that madhab. So you find any text, so you will stick to the text that is used by the imam of that madhab or those of the followers of that madhab. So he kind of somewhat, so he will stay within the text by way of the of that madhab, by way of the text of the madhab, and not generally that you'll find that they'll ever go outside of that madhab. So any view that they give will be a view that is within the view of the madhab, the known view of that madhab. So they refer to as mujtahid, lakin mujtahid fi madhab man intasaba alayh. So either mujtahid regarding the madhab that he himself attached with or attached to. So those are the ones that the books that they'll stick to the books only of the madhab. They'll stick to the books only of the madhab. They'll not per se go outside books that relates to other madhahib and their aqwal. And as for those concerns that they will not per se that they will not critique the view of the madhab. They will not per se critique or have a comparison with the view that madhab compared to another madhab. They will not per se take that approach, as they restrict themselves only to their madhab and the views within their madhab. So as for the fourth type of mujtahid or alim that one might find concerning mention, that the one concerned that a person or next group of concerning a person who study of the madhab regarding ta'ifa tafaqahat fi al-madhahib, that those ones who study on the madhahib, so those who study on that particular madhab, or they will stay within the madhab that are already established, and they'll stick to one of them. So they'll look at the madhahib that are already established, and they'll follow one of those madhab. They'll follow, and they'll study concerning what is said or mentioned and recorded regarding that particular madhab. So of their study regarding concerning the matter of ahkam sharia, that they'll study based upon a particular madhab. And that approach, that also they'll see themselves as being concerned in that they'll only take to that madhab. So those people will only take from that madhab and will not go outside that madhab. But they may acknowledge the other madhahib, but they will not accept anything outside of their madhab. So those are the ones concerning that, regarding that their madhab. So regarding concerning study concerning that, they will not per se study concerning Quran and the Sunnah as independent source, because they only stick to what is mentioned in the established madhab that they follow. And of those ones that they'll kind of somewhat satisfy themselves regarding what is already established in the madhab. They're satisfied with what mentioned in the madhab, and these are the one at times that they more see themselves as being of a muqallid of the madhab. They just kind of somewhat accept whatever is mentioned in the madhab, whether a dalil is provided or not. So whatever dalil, evidence is provided, or there's a lack of evidence, or the evidence is not of the standing of acceptability, they'll still take to the madhab. They'll still take to the madhab. So even though they have gone through a process of studying the madhab and studying of the books of fiqh, but they'll study the book of that madhab that they follow, and they'll only stick to the views held within that madhab. And at times, if they find that there's no evidence for the madhab, or the evidence is not worthy enough as a strong evidence, they'll still accept the madhab. They'll still accept the madhab. So those are the ones concerning that the ones who have studied, but is a muqallid. The one who has studied, but is a muqallid, that he only accept from the madhab, knowing the evidence and the strength of the evidence or not, he'll alter the madhab. And his view will be related to any view that he takes. It has to be attached back to the madhab. It has to be attached to that particular madhab. So if they find a hadith that goes against the madhab, and the hadith is authentic, then they'll still stick to the madhab, because they have taqleed. They fall into taqleed of the madhab. They fall into blind following of the madhab. So this will spin off to the next topic, which is concerning asbab, jumud, al-fikri, wa ta'assub, al-madhabi. So because of that approach regarding the fourth that we mentioned, regarding people who have studied the madhab. So these are those who have studied the madhab or studied fiqh, but they follow a particular madhab, but they fall into taqleed, that they do not go outside or away from the madhab. They accept everything in the madhab, whether evidence is provided or not. So as for what this led to, as they mentioned regarding concerning in the 4th century of Islam, that it led to people falling into a taqleed. It led to people falling into taqleed regarding that each region or person who studied, that they'll study based upon a madhab. They study based upon a particular madhab, and that would be that how they see fiqh to be approached, and the way for it to be approached, and that's that became the method that was followed for a while. That became a method that was followed by many. So that became the era regarding concerning that al-jumud, al-madhabi wa taqleed al-madhabi. So that became that era. Then it started to manifest. So that mentioned, ulama mentioned, as some have mentioned, authors in this book, that kind of somewhat it manifests after the 4th century. Then this started to develop this approach regarding at-taqleed, al-madhabi, wa ta'assub, and to blind follow madhab, and also for the person to rigidly follow a madhab, the view of the madhab only. Then that started to be developed, and many things that contributed to it, but of the things that it kind of somewhat impacted upon regarding concerning the Muslim approach regarding fiqh, that time during fiqh, that lead concerning that tark al-ishtighal bi ulum al-ijtihad. So those ulama are those who are reached certain because of it kind of somewhat close the door regarding ulama, the study concerning matter that relates to al-ijtihad. So regarding concerning that, the doors to ijtihad was somewhat that approach was somewhat turned away. They turned away from matters concerning the tools for ijtihad. So those tools that lead a person to achieve al-ijtihad, they turn away from those tools and those science. So regarding concern, to know that so all the science was studied in a way of in a restricted way that somewhat to support the madhab. So regarding concern, Lughat Arabiya was studied in line of the madhab, the Quran in line in view of the madhab, the Sunnah in line of the madhab. So everything was somewhat studied in support of the madhab. So we find that, and also the same thing with the aqwal of the Salaf. So they take from the aqwal of the Salaf what suits the madhab. So everything was done supposed to support the madhab. So regarding concern a person achieving regarding that level of knowing concerning the tools of ijtihad and the ulum of ijtihad, then those things were somewhat closed. So also of those things that it led to regarding concern, also the concern of Bab al-Ijtihad, as they mentioned, Mughlaq. So also the concern of Bab al-Ijtihad, that they owed it to be closed. So regarding concern the Bab of Ijtihad, where an alim, for them, would not, regardless of the status, the level that he have reached, the degree that he have reached in his studies, he would not have reached a level where he can come to his own independent study, or to go against the madhab, or to review or to critique the madhab. So that, so whatever view that was already established, then that was the view to be taken, and not to be critiqued, or for one to go in contrary to the views that were already established from those who came before. So everyone was to kind of someone to know the view and to fall in line and to stick to the view that were already established. So with this was contrary to what the Sharia kind of somewhat encourage regarding concerning those ulama who have reached concerning ijtihad, for them to make ijtihad. So I mentioned concerning ijtihad is something which is allowed for the person who have achieved ijtihad. So you find concerning nawazil was treated somewhat different regarding concerning matters that were of the people of the matter that was particular at that time, that the people treat them somewhat different because of are not able to bring about proper solutions based upon the closed mind mentality of regarding ijtihad, and that they all concerned that the person has to stick only what is mentioned in the madhab. So those are the things that, and also that they found also during that time that regarding concerning those ulama who try to open the door or embark upon concerning ijtihad, that they were attacked, and that they were fought against by other ulama. So those who try to look regarding matters of ijtihad, then they were rejected by other of the ulama. So rejection of those who were willing to exercise concerning ijtihad, they were the few, but also they were treated unpleasantly, and their approach were not accepted. Their approach were not accepted. So at times they will be imprisoned because of al-ijtihad and taking a view that was not per se within the established madhahib, or they see as challenging the madhabs or the madhahib, then they kind of somewhat, they will see those ulama who kind of somewhat try to practice ijtihad being kind of somewhat of being of those who are going against what is already established, and so that they face a little difficulty. So you find the likes of Ibn Taymiyyah, Ibn Qayyim, who experienced a lot of difficulties because of this matter, and at times they were imprisoned and treated unpleasant and treated with harshness because of this approach regarding the bab of ijtihad is closed. The area concerned a person making ijtihad, alim coming to his own independent judgment on matters, they owe that to be a no-no. So that can somewhat continue for many years amongst some of the Muslims regarding that matter. So you find out during that time that a Muslim that was placed in one of the four madhahib, and there was no other choices. So one of the four madhahib were the ones that were established regarding either a Ahnaf, a Maliki, a Shafi, or a Hanbali. So you find that so most of the Muslims, to the extent regarding concerning that in the haram, in certain masajid, that the salawat was led, you have for each salat of the compulsory salat, that you have a different imam, a different imam from each madhab would lead the salah. So Dhuhr will have four different imam, one for the Malikiyah, one for the Ahnaf, one for the Shafi, and for the Hanabila. So you have that type of approach also to that extent, that a person regarding the salawat in a single masjid, that you have four different imam for the same salah, but each imam were to lead those who were the followers of his madhab in that particular salat. So it even led to that scenario. So that's concerning those matters regarding, and also because of this, regarding al-jumhud ala madhahib, that blind following of a madhab and sticking to a madhab, that it led to ikhtilaf between the ulama, and also adawa wal baghda. So it led to a lot of differences and hatred and dislike between some of the ulama and also amongst the general masses. So it led to a lot of people attacking concern between the madhahib. It led to a lot of disagreement between the madhahib of those who during that time, and also so it led to a lot of even more disagreement between the some of the ulama during that time because of this approach regarding the madhahib. So they start to have open enmity towards each other and disagreements between each other, and also that some of them also were very clear regarding their support for this approach regarding concerning of the following of a madhab, to the extent that certain statements were mentioned that were very harsh. Certain statement that was mentioned that shows regarding that, some of the ulama, that their stance was very harsh regarding those who did not follow a madhab. So to the extent where they mentioned that some of the ulama, they mentioned one of those who have mentioned regarding كل آية, where stated كل آية أو حديث يخالف ما عليه أصحابنا. They mentioned that any ayah or a hadith that goes in contrary to what our companions that the madhab is upon, فهو مؤول, so it is to be explained away, that's, or mansukh, or they consider to be abrogated. So that's out to the extent any ayah or hadith that did not comply with our madhab or seem to be going against our madhab, our view of the madhab, then that ayah or that hadith is to be explained away in light of our madhab, or to be explained away, or it to be considered to be mansukh, to be abrogated. So that was concerned the extent regarding how they approach concerning matters. So it even led to concern that, that even concerning at-takfir and dalal being said regarding someone who did not per se follow a particular madhab. So concerning those who are the muqallid, that they would at times that they'll even make takfir upon others who did not per se follow the madhab, but so the person consider a person to be misguided by not following a particular madhab. So those are some of the things that you find among some of the Muslim during those time regarding that how they are some of the people of ilm regarding how they approach others who did not per se, as a way of a caution and stern warning against people who try to consider concerning matters regarding al-ijtihad. So those are the things that occurred regarding concerning that during those times that it was said for the person to either follow a particular madhab or experience the wrath of others, and condemnation from others by way of even passing hukum upon others concerning that they have left the fold of Islam, or to the extent that they mention that they are dhal mudil, that they are misguided by not following a particular madhab. So you find one of those who have mentioned some of their statements that it is stated that they mention la yajuz, is not permissible, taqlid, to blind follow, ma'ada al-arba, it is not allowed for one to make taqlid of other than the four madhahib. So saying that the person should not go outside the four madhahib. So the person must stick to one of those four madhahib and not allowed to go beyond the four madhahib. Then I mentioned وَلَوْ وَافَقْ قَوْلَ الصَّحَابَةِ وَالْحَدِيثَ الصَّحِيحِ وَالْآيَاتِ, even that person who go outside the madhahib, if their view was to coincide with that of the Sahaba or the Hadith or Ayah, they mention فَالْخَارِجْ عَنِ الْمَذَاهِبِ الْعَرْبَةِ ضَالٌ مُضِلٌ, anyone who goes away outside the four madhahib, now it mentioned ضَالٌ مُضِلٌ, the person is misguided. That person is completely misguided. So even to the extent where they even mention regarding concerning that, so regarding concern a person also leaving the states of kufr. To the extent regarding that in certain places or certain times that they're all concerning that the followers of some of the madhahib, they were treated as Ahlul Kitab. So to the extent where at times that if one was to follow that, they will treat others from the other madhab as if you're treating one of Ahlul Kitab, of treating Ahlul Kitab. To the extent of Ahlul Kitab regarding, for example, things regarding marriage, that regarding someone who follow another madhab, that you are allowed to marry their woman. The man from that madhab is allowed to marry the woman from that other madhab, but the woman from that madhab, that their women are not allowed to marry outside of their madhab, but the men are allowed. So the men are allowed to marry other women from the other madhahib. As for the woman from that particular madhab, they are not allowed to marry men from the other madhahib, because it was like treating them as if they were Ahlul Kitab. Treating them as if they were Ahlul Kitab. So they show the extent regarding concerning that how some approach regarding a taqleed and how they look at the madhahib, that everything was focused on the four madhahib, and in more so the madhab that person followed. So regarding the Muslim, regarding general Muslim approach that was to be followed, regarding concerning those who, so you find that, so that was concerned the standard regarding the madhahib of how people look at the madhab in a very, in that manner, and that existed amongst the Muslims for a long time regarding their approach, regarding the madhahib that existed, and more so they're restricted to the four madhahib. They're restricted to the four madhahib. Even though you find that the statement of the four imam of the law of madhahib and others, that they condemned regarding taqleed of a particular alim, that they were against taqleed of a particular alim, so they were somewhat against this. But later on, this became a bedrock, a cornerstone principle within the madhab, that you have to stick to a particular imam, and that's when Muslims start to go in overboard regarding their ghulu, their excessiveness with taqleed regarding a particular imam on a particular madhab. With all that, what's in the madhab is the haqq. What is outside there, it is then also it is okay, but what is in the madhab, all of it is considered to be correct. So also this led also to, so that's concern of those things that regarding concerning this matter. The ulama mentioned regarding hukum at-taqleed, regarding concerning at-taqleed, that the matter regarding at-taqleed and ta'assub, that the ulama mentioned regarding that, if any person will find themselves in a situation where the i'rad amma anzal Allah, that they kind of go against the book and the sunnah on a matter that have become clear to them, then that's a sign that is not good, and a sign of taqleed. So if anything have been come to a person's attention that's in the book and the sunnah, whether it goes in line with your imam or contrary to your imam, then a person is obliged to follow the Quran, the sunnah. So the things regarding taqleed, that or regarding this matter, that the Muslim, what is obliged upon him is that he should follow the book and the sunnah. And if this goes against the view of anyone, then he should take the book and the sunnah regarding its ruling, and to go against the imam if the imam view contradicts the Quran, the sunnah. So not for him to adapt a view that contradicts the Quran, the sunnah. So any view that goes against the Quran, the sunnah, then it's not for him to accept such view. And also for the person, that at times the person make taqleed of individual, not knowing their dalil. So a taqleed of the things of taqleed is the person taking a view without knowing the evidence of the person that they are following. So at times the person that they are following may not even be known. At times the person that they are following may not be even known to them, and the evidence of the person is also not known to them. But because of the person within that madhab, or said to be attached to that madhab, then they'll accept it automatically, without per se knowing the person and also the evidence for what they're using to come to their conclusion. So the person is not to follow anyone in that fashion. So a person is not to follow any particular person in that fashion. Well, based upon that, it revolves around the individual who's said to be a person who's not a prophet, And also regarding that matter concerns that after the evidence has been manifest in a person, then he's obliged to follow the evidence. If the evidence is valid evidence, and also the understanding from the evidence is in line, that evidence is in place, and also the understanding follows proper guidelines, then that's what he follows. So that's concerning. As for the general mass, so regarding concerns, as for the general Muslim, then his approach regarding concerns, no, that for the general Muslim is not said to be following a particular madhab, even though he may think. So the general Muslim, that he may be think of him following a particular madhab, but in most cases he doesn't understand anything about the madhab. He just have an affiliation to something that he does not, in most cases, know very well about. So for that person, his madhab is really that of the mufti. His madhab is that of concern of the mufti, are those who give fatwa, and the ai his madhab is concerning following the views. So the question that he asks and given view, then that becomes the view that you follow. So as for the madhahib regarding their relationship, alaqa bain al-madhahib al-fiqhiyya, regarding concern of the things that bond them together, or the things that they share in similar. So in the madhahib, of the things that they share in similar, will be concerned that one, that these madhahib al-arba that are mentioned, that are now established, that concern the imma, all of the imma of those madhahib are said to be imma of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. So the imma of the madhahib are said to be of reputable ulama from Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. So, and any matter you might find up maybe with particular ones, maybe certain matter that may be on the discussion, but in general, that they are all concerned what they share in common, that they are ulama of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. So none of them are said to be of Shia, Rafida, and the likes. None of them are said to be of Mu'tazila. None of those imma is said to be from the more extreme, deviated sects of Islam. They are not per se said to be of those way inclined in any way. Then also you find of those things regarding concern imma the other thing that they also that they share in common, that all of them from the they're from us from they're from the time of the Salaf, also from the era of the Salaf. So most from the era of the Salaf. So also that is something which is praiseworthy. That is something which is praiseworthy for them to be amongst from the era of the Salaf. So in the first three generation, that most of their imma that there fall within the first three generation of Muslims. Also all those imma that they said to be those who have reached a level of al-mujtahid al-mutlaq. So all of them are said to be a mujtahid. So they have reached that level of academic status and knowledge where they're all said to be mujtahid. So all of them are said to be a mujtahid. And also there, in most parts concerned, their usul is all from the Quran, the Sunnah, wal Ijma. So all of them, they kind of somewhat they share regarding of their primary source is the Quran, al-Wahi, and what? So the Quran, the Sunnah has always been their primary source. Their primary source is the Quran, the Sunnah. And also those are imma of those things that most have been praised by the ulama who came after them. That most have been praised by the ulama that have come after them and have document their fatwa and their views and have tried to serve their madhahib. So those are imma. So of those things they share in common of those of being imma. And you find of the scholars also accept them as being a part of their imma, that one can look to their views, but also for it to be critique. So also for it to be critique, but the general thing of those that their views that their views does have a place with the ummah. Their view have a place with the ummah. So their views are somewhat taken and considered regarding their fatwas. So the fatwas and their views are considered amongst the ulama from their time up until our time. So that's concerning those things regarding concerning those ai of those things that also that to take into consideration regarding of the study concerning Tariq al-Fiqh regarding the history of Fiqh and its developments and evolution of those things that also is studied regarding, of those matter regarding al-asbab al-ikhtilaf. So concerning not why that we find at times that there's ikhtilaf between the ulama. So at times we find that there's ikhtilaf between the ulama. So why is this? What are the reasons and the factors that contribute to this? So the ulama have written many books regarding this and have stated some of those reasons. So we'll just state some of those reasons in general. So regarding the first thing regarding asbab al-ikhtilaf al-fuqaha, and in this matter, so more specifically, the ikhtilaf that occur between the ulama regarding matters concerning al-fiqhiyya. So at times you might find ikhtilaf between some regarding concerning matters that relate to aqadiyya, matters concerning belief, that's concerning the bab of aqidah, that's a study in aqidah, and sometimes it does have an impact or still kind of somewhat spin off and have an impact regarding matters regarding ahkam al-fiqhiyya. So matters that relates to ahkam al-aqadiyya, at times it can have an impact regarding a person's view on the person's view on certain matter, which is fiqhiyya. So there's at times some relationship, but with this discussion, we are more discussing concerning ikhtilaf al-fiqhiyya. So the type of anwa al-khilaf al-fiqhiyya that the ulama have mentioned, you find that either the khilaf, the differences that occur between the ulama, that time that the khilaf between the difference between them is one which is, they mention maqbool, and that which is mardud. So at times, it is that which is maqbool, acceptable, that the khilaf between them is one which is a justifiable difference, and at times, that difference between the ulama is one which is unjustifiable, is one which is unaccepted. So one which is unaccepted. So regarding concerning that al-khilaf al-maqbool is concerned by way of concern, the one which is maqbool is as-sa'ir. So that type of siyah, and the one which is considered to be acceptable, there's some leniency, there's a room regarding this type of khilaf, where there's something which is considered and taken to note, is regarding concern that that is that khilaf in areas that it is in those masail that is allowed. There's room for khilaf in those masail. So they mentioned regarding at times that with the condition that each person is seeking the haqq. So in those areas that is allowed for khilaf, is allowed for legitimate khilaf, then it's for the person that's concerned if there's views, if you find that a difference in views, then it is something which is, it takes that it is looked at. Then those views are looked at and we consider to be valid differences, because it's an area where the room for khilaf is open. And the second type of khilaf that is mentioned, they mention concerning al-khilaf al-mardud al-madhmum. So the type of khilaf which is considered to be unacceptable, and also as they said to be something which is madhmum, something which is blameworthy. So a person enter into those areas and having difference in those areas, something which is blameworthy. So regarding concern those matters, regarding khilaf that is said to be sahih, regarding concern the matter which is dhaniyah. So there's not clear text in those matters. So those ones that dhaniyah, there's not clear text on those matters. So there's and that's what one is said to be, which is mardud, madhmoom, unacceptable, blameworthy, is regarding concerning khilaf that have occurred and matter that are somewhat said to be of the usul, ad-din, usul, where there's or matter concerning that al-qat'iyah, matter which says that where the evidence is very explicit on those matters. So you find that either cases where the evidence is very explicit and clear on those matters. So in those matters there should not be khilaf, and if a khilaf differences occur on those matters, then it is considered to be something which is blameworthy. So usul ad-din could take the meaning concerning that regarding concerning matters that are considered to be of the fundamental practice of Islam, whether those things are related to aqidah and / matter that relates to al-fiqh. So regarding concerning saying that 5 salat is compulsory in a day, then that's something that there should not be any discussion on that matter. Regarding the compulsory salat in a day and a night is 5, there should not be that, no one should entertain any difference on that matter. Anyone who says otherwise or said there's less than 5, then that person is entering into something which is blameworthy, and that person to be chastised and to be that view to be rejected. So or a person stating concerning that Siyam Ramadan should be in a different month, to Siyam Ramadan should be in a month other than Ramadan. So to say to fast Ramadan, that is allowed and should be done outside of Ramadan, because based upon the difference in seasons, you have winter season, you have the summer season. So if Ramadan occurs in the very hot, long days, then it should be changed for that month and placed in a different month. Then that is khilaf al-mazmum, غير مقبول, that is unacceptable and rejected. So that's concerning those matters where at times that khilaf is that which is unacceptable and rejected. So a matter that has been confirmed, that there's an ijma on the matter, has been verified, then there's no room for khilaf on those matters. So matters regarding ijma, a consensus between the ulama, so the ulama have agreed upon a matter, then no khilaf, no difference is acceptable on those matters. And to do so, it's been confirmed, then the person doing something, a view contrary to this, then it's considered to be something which is madhmoom, something which is unacceptable, and the person is treated appropriately for rejecting of that khilaf, that ijma. So that's concerning those matters regarding these matters, regarding the type of khilaf that may have. Also, you might find that, so you find that also that you find a khilaf that mentioned that al-khilaf al-tanawwa or khilaf al-takhyir. So also you might find that by way of khilaf al-faqiyya, of the reality of the differences that occur regarding al-fuqaha, regarding masahil. At times, the khilaf between the ulama of different madhahib, a different view, may be khilaf tanawwa al-takhyir, where the khilaf, it is each view that is there, they are not in reality contradicting each other. It's just that that thing can be done different ways, and all those views have a legitimate evidence. So each view have a legitimate, have a valid evidence, and the evidence somewhat support what each view are taken, that I've taken, and so it becomes that khilaf. So even though one is saying something that seems to be contrary, and a view contrary to the other, but it's not really, that's the case. It's just that on that matter, you might find that thing can be done several ways, and all the different views that are being mentioned, that they're legitimate. So they mention regarding concerning those matters, that regarding concerning that, for example, the adhan and the iqamah, that can be done more than one way. So the adhan can be called more than one way. One madhab might stick to a particular way, and another madhab might stick to a particular way, but both those two ways are legitimate way of calling the adhan. Also, so you might find certain matters are like this. Certain matters are like this. So those matters that fall into this category, then the person, so those type of khilaf, in reality, they are khilaf al-takhyir, the person, with tanawwa, khilaf where the person have choice. All the choices that are there are all legitimate. All the choices that are there are legitimate for the person to choose one which is satisfied, or the person at times use this one and at times use another one, but you might find that some of the madhahib might stick to a particular view. The second type of ikhtilaf that they mention between the fuqaha, at times considered al-ikhtilaf al-tadad wa ta'arud, that you find that the khilaf becomes one which is going against, that they're going in contradiction to each other. So that's complete conflict between both, where there's no way to resolve those conflicts or differences. So I find that they're now going head at head with each other, then that's the type of khilaf that becomes the one that now concern those matters, that requires a different approach regarding concerning those khilaf, regarding concerning that may be more detail regarding right and wrong. So the khilaf tadad wa ta'arud, one is saying completely opposite to what the other view is saying. So in that case, it may require concern a person have to take one of those views that is seen to be the more correct view, and that would mean not accepting the other. So accepting one of those views based upon the evidence and research as to which of those views are which of the two opposing view is said to be correct. So at times you might find certain khilaf on that matter regarding, for example, of touching concerning eating lamb jazur, lamb al-jazur, regarding concerning eating the camel meat, does it nullify the person wudu or not? So one saying yes, and others saying no, those seem to be opposing view. So the person needs to look into the matter further, see what is being said by the opposing views as their evidence and how they come to their conclusions, and then the person then try to then critique those evidence or recruit the views, and then come to a conclusion, which is to accept one of the opposing view, accepting one of the opposing view based upon certain principles that are followed. So that's concerned those matters. As what is mentioned regarding the hadith, that is said to be a hadith, اختلاف أمتي رحمة, that the difference between my ummah is a rahmah. That's not the case. That's not per se the case. So the hadith is la aslaha, it has no basis, the hadith. And regarding concern this matter regarding that, we said no, that ikhtilaf from the ummah, it is based upon if the ikhtilaf on matters concerning usul al-deen wa qat'iyya, and things that are very explicit and clear, then ikhtilaf on those things are wrong. Ikhtilaf on those things is not rahmah, it's actually division and hatred and splitting between the Muslim. So regarding the fundamental teach of Islam, the usul Islam, and the qat'iyya and the ijma'at of the Muslim, then they should no one should oppose those things. As for concern the ar-rahmah, if ikhtilaf concern those areas, yasugh fi al-khilaf, where it is allowed, there's some allowance, leeway for khilaf, then that's different than rahmah, in the sense that the Muslim have choices and not have to stick to one rigid view. As for the next matter regarding asbab al-khilaf, so as for concern the reason behind the ulama having difference between themselves, so the understanding concerning the development of the madhahib is also for the person understanding, and those who came after, asbab al-ikhtilaf, the reason why the fuqaha that they differ between themselves. So of those, there are many reasons that can be stated, or reasons that can be stated regarding the khilaf between the ulama. Of those reasons, that one, that of those asbab that goes back, ya'ud ila adillah, that goes back to the evidence that is used. So what is said to be the dalil that the person is using to come to its conclusion, the evidence that is being used, you might find that at times the evidence that is said to be that concerning that adam bulugh ad-dalil al-mushtahid, or that alim, that evidence did not reach that alim. So there may be evidence that exists, but that alim, that evidence did not reach that alim. That evidence did not, he was not aware of that evidence. Or he knew of the evidence, but at the time that it was needed, he forgot. So he may be aware that an evidence existed, but at the time that it was needed for him to give the fatwa or pass his judgment, that he forgot that evidence. So he gave an answer contrary to the to the evidence that he did knew but forgot, or he gave an answer because that evidence did not reach him. It did not reach him. So you might find certain cases like that occur even in time of the Sahaba, regarding certain things that the Sahaba, regarding that, not every hadith was known to every single Sahaba. So you might find certain cases where concerning that, some matters that regarding concerning concerning the case regarding concerning that Umar anhu, that he was somewhat unaware of regarding the ruling or the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ regarding a person entering a city where there's a ta'un, there's a disease that's present, or a virus. So that he mentioned Omar was not aware, then Abdul Rahman ibn Auf, then someone to remind him of the dalil. So Abdul Rahman ibn Auf, that reminding concerns that the Prophet Islam had mentioned regarding this matter as to what to be the approach, what to be done in such cases. But Umar ibn Khattab initially wasn't aware of this until he was told of this matter by Abdul Rahman ibn Auf. Then also you'll find other cases regarding concerning that at times regarding the ulama may differ regarding the texts there, but they have a difference regarding thubut al-hadith. Regarding concern that they have a difference regarding the hadith may reach them, but they have a difference regarding is the hadith authentic or not. Some hold the hadith to be authentic, so they act upon it, and others hold the hadith not to be authentic, so they do not act upon it. Or give a ruling that is in line with that hadith, because in their eyes, or based upon their study of hadith and look at the criteria concerning hadith being of acceptance, the hadith did not fulfill the criteria of acceptance. And it's based upon the rule of ilm al-hadith. So it's not based upon the alim personal judgment. It is out of the mere following just without guidelines. It is based upon did the hadith in his studies, onto his knowledge, did it fulfill the criteria of acceptability of qabul or not. So at times an alim may not see the hadith as being authentic, and another alim may see the hadith as being authentic. So sometimes this occur, and this kind of somewhat leads to the difference between the ulama. Of the other matters regarding concerning اختلاف هجية بعد أدلة. I think some of the evidence or sources, sometimes the ulama might have a difference regarding what is accepted and can be used as a dalil. So regarding concerning the adillah, the evidence, at times you might find a difference between the ulama as to what they hold to be a valid dalil, a valid evidence. So for example, regarding concerning the use of with some of the ulama, قول الصحابي, or some might have a difference concerning الشريعة من قبلنا or الشر قبلنا. So they concern the laws, the legislation of those people that came, the nation that came before. So the prophets, regarding the prophets who came before, regarding their legislation, is upon us to accept this. And also regarding Amal al-Medina, is the actions of al-Medina evidence or not? Some ulama may accept it, others may not. So at times, the difference between the ulama may be based upon that the evidence that's being used, some may not see it as a valid evidence, may not see it as a valid evidence. Also regarding concerning the rutbatul ad-dalil, concerning rutbatul dalil, by way of concern I mentioned that the stat or the level of that dalil, to the level of that dalil that is order, that degree of that dalil that is being used. So the ulama concern rutbatul dalil, that they mentioned that regarding concerning that of the ulama, they may have concern a system regarding how they follow. So for them, Quran was Sunnah first and foremost. Others might mention al-ijma. Some might mention, even for example, some might say, if they come to the case concerning al-qiyas and the call of the Sahaba, which one should I accept as more of a dalil? Some might say, okay, my approach is that I accept the call of the Sahaba, that over qiyas. And some may put qiyas before that of the call of Sahaba. Or those who may put concerning that, so you might find case like this concerning that, as for how he used concerning what's said to be dalil, as what is given priority, then you might find that in that they might find a difference between the ulama regarding what is given precedent over the other. What is given precedent over the other. So those might say that qiyas is only used in the case of durura. So you find that even a weak hadith is used instead of that of qiyas. So they prefer to use a weak hadith, a slightly weak hadith, than that of qiyas. So you might have those approach regarding what evidence to be used. So concern tartib al-dalil, as to which of them is giving precedent over the other. At times you might find a difference between the ulama on that matter. Then you find other differences that go back to the linguistic use of the language, regarding concerning to the extent of the use of the language. So at times you might find those things that also come into play regarding reason behind difference between the ulama, and also the illah, the manat, tahqiq al-manat. So these type of what's the reason behind this judgment. Then you might find that these things also, you might find that they might come to different conclusions, the wisdom behind this matter, the reason behind this matter. Then you might find difference amongst the ulama on those matters. So also that leads to them having difference between themselves. So those are in slight regarding those matters. And also it may also have a factor regarding the level of that alim. So the ulama also on different levels. So you find the ulama on different levels. So that also impact regarding their level of istinbat al-ahkam, their level of istinbat of ahkam, and their level of proficiency in that particular field. So not all the ulama on the same level regarding the level of speciality or the level of proficiency on that particular, in their particular field. So all those things lead to difference between the ulama. So as for the person approaching concerning al-fiqh, taking consideration regarding what's our mawqif or position regarding the difference between the ulama. With that regarding the Muslim, with the differences that occurred between the ulama, that his position is that his thing is to اتباع الحق والبحث عن الحق. That is always the person who is seeking to get to the truth of the matter. So even matters concerning fiqh, that a person that is intention, that he wants to follow what is said to be the truth and closest to the evidence. So that's concerning the first approach. The person of that is there to follow the evidence, is here to follow the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So is the strongest evidence. So his thing is to always try to aim at trying to achieve what is the truth and to find what is the truth. Also for him to be just between the imma. Regarding concern to know how to weigh things out, where and also for the person that not to go over the top, regarding that he elevate an alim to a status where he kind of he follows everything that he says. So not to go over the top regarding a particular alim, regarding his views, where every view that he takes, it is followed, even though the person may not be clear of his dalil, then the person not to have that approach. So and also for the person to have, in general, even though if he may come to a conclusion, not to be disrespectful to others of the ulama. So not to be disrespectful towards the ulama if he may not agree with their position, but took another position. So if there's a difference between the ulama, and each have done their ijtihad, and they have come to their conclusion, and the person who have looked to the matter and have taken one of those, one view from the existing views. Now, even if they seem to be to be opposed, he accept the one that he holds to be the correct one. He can even reject the ones that he said to be that he doesn't accept, but still he has respect for those ulama and speak of them in a good way and not in a disrespectful way, not in private nor in public. So that's concerned the person approach, and he give nasiha regarding to those whom, if he believes that those who have taken a view opposite to his, he can say have a munakasha, he can give them nasiha, but also not to have to hold them in discontent, and to see them as being enemies, and to label them with label that is not befitting to them. So that's how the approach regarding. So the general thing that for the person to understand and not to lose sight of the status of the ulama, even those that at times you may not agree with them, but if they have a status and a place amongst the Muslim and amongst the Muslim, and they have reached a level of being able to can give ijtihad, then we must respect them, even if one may disagree with them and some of their outcomes. And so that's concerning those matters regarding concerning the approach that the general Muslim should have regarding their imma. So of the things to also to note that a person has to be able to identify who amongst the scholars are those who are their imma, are those of the major scholars of their time and those before them. So also be able to can identify who are said to be the major scholars of the past and also of present, and benefit from them. So that's concerned those matters that relates to this particular topic that we have mentioned today as a conclusion regarding this matter. So in some of the books of this that were mentioned, that some of the main heads of each of the madhahib, some of the ulama of each, some of the more renowned of the ulama of each madhahib, as for that matter, we have somewhat mentioned something in brief regarding that in before, and some of the books of some of those ulama. So and there's many. So it's concerned that. So we're in a stage regarding that they refer to as the study of fiqh. That the approach is that. So you find that the person generally regarding concern that the spread of the madhahib and the books of their imma, that a person may the ulama that the person feel even that either books that clarify a particular madhab, or you might find even works that we have today that what they can't concern, that they can't fiqh al-muqarin, fiqh that is approach concerning in a comparative approach. So you have the fiqh of the madhahib, where the madhab will mention the madhab, the fiqh of the madhab, they'll mention their view and give their evidence, and even they mention at times the difference between themselves under particular within their books. Then you have some books, their books that also explain regarding the approaches regarding them. Fiqh al-muqarin, So they mention concerning a comparative type of fiqh. So the thing is to mention the different madhahib, their views, and then try to critique those each madhab and see which of the views are closest to evidence. So a system of auto-critique, but they'll try to mention the view, the most reliable view of each madhab, and source those views from the legitimate books from the madhab. Then they try to make a comparison. So that's another way that is studied, a fiqh that is studied today, regarding concern referred to as fiqh al-maqarin, comparative fiqh, which is the person doesn't follow a particular madhab, but he approaches to do a comparative study regarding the different madhahib, if there's areas of difference and also areas of ijma, of consensus between the madhahib. So you find the books of Ibn Rushd and others' books, Al-Bidayat al-Mujtahid, on those matters, the books of Shawkani, sometimes of that approach, Sadiq Hassan Khan. So find also some books of the contemporaries. So it's not that, so that's another approach regarding of fiqh that is available. So the overall, the thing that the person tried to avoid regarding ta'assub wa taqleed al-amma. Try to avoid regarding being a very partisanship to a particular madhab, and also being having this overzealousness towards a particular madhab, and also see others different from how he sees people from within his madhab, and treat them also different. So this is of those things the person to be mindful of and to avoid that approach regarding al-fiqh. So with that, inshallah ta'ala, or what have been said, that this cover concerning the end of this discussion regarding the development of fiqh. So the development of fiqh, as for the person of a broad overview on this matter, or a brief overview, but in a broad spectrum regarding the development of the madhahib. Regarding concerning the role concern that we discussed, that we put in different phases or stages. The stage regarding first of al-asr al-tashri', the time regarding the Islamic establishment of Islamic law. That was the time of the Prophet ﷺ. So the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he established this, and then after you have an extension of this will concern the time of the Sahaba and what they established. Then atba' al-Sahaba, those who would have followed the Sahaba are known as the Tabi'een, and then atba' al-Tabi'een until the madhahib were established. So the madhahib were established from the time of the atba' al-Tabi'een until they were fully established, and most still live until today, regarding concerning 4 or 5 madhahib as-Sunni, which are the Ahnaf, the follow Abu Hanifa, the Malikiyya, that follow Imam Malik, the Shafi'i, that follow Abu Muhammad ibn Idris al-Shafi'i, and also the Hanabila or Hanbali, that follow concerning Ahmad ibn Hanbal al-Shaybani. So these are the 4 that are more widely followed. And today we have those schools that may not, or those madaris that may not follow a particular madhab, or hold to a particular madhab. So also we have that also approach that is alive today. So that inshallah ta'ala, that give us a brief summary regarding Tariq al-Fiqh, or Al-Madkhal ila Tariq al-Fiqh, or Nashat al-Fiqh al-Islamiyya, the development of the Madhahib al-Fiqhiyya. That's a general overview, what has been mentioned by some of the ulama regarding this matter. وبالله تعالى توفيق وهذه إلى سبيل والآخر دعوانا الحمد لله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.